Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Discover New Music podcast from us at Pelt Music. Shortly, we'll be joined by Fraser Morgan, who we recently featured over on our Discover New Music playlist on Spotify with his single Fell in Love Again. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening. Welcome to Fraser Morgan to the Discover New Music podcast. Absolutely delighted to have you on this evening. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fantastic, thank you. And I've been so this has made my day when I got the message through saying you wanted to have a chat to me. I've just been really excited just to come home and actually chat. Like I've been like filling my time between now and then, like just trying to find stuff to do because I was looking forward. I felt like a kid. Like, when like your mum's like, right, we get to watch a film at 7, we're gonna get the popcorn out. And until then you're just like twiddling your thumbs, like waiting for 7 o'clock. So that was basically me.
Yeah,
So
no, I
I'm in a
know.
great mood.
Oh, exactly. I know the feeling well whenever the wife says that I'm allowed to do one of these. It's great. So, yeah, absolutely delighted to have you on and talk through, obviously, the single that we've featured over on the playlist, Fell in Love Again, we'll get to in a
Mm.
moment. But for regular listeners, they'll know we always start off with the same segment on the podcast. And it's called the origin story, which I always laugh when I'm preparing an interview and I'm interviewing a solo artist because I mean, the origin story. I mean, that could get quite personal ultimately, but we won't go back that far in time. And think of origin story for a villain or a superhero, but origin story for yourself, Fraser, as a musician. How did you get into playing shows and obviously putting out music and everything
Yeah,
great that's going on?
cool.
So yeah, what is your origin story?
I mean, for my origin story of birth, I think my mum met my dad on the bus, and after she had a lot of Jack Daniels. So that's when I was made, basically. Not on the bus, don't worry. But
Yeah.
um, but then so myself musically, it was a complete accident, to be honest with you, Paul. I didn't intend to do music. Um, like right until the age of like 16, I wanted to be a banker.
All
Don't know what
right.
16-year-old wants to be a banker, but apparently this one did. But when I was like, I've always loved rhyming. Rhyming's just been like something I was like, I've always, I remember writing my first like quote unquote song. When I hear artists say interviews, oh, I've been singing since I was 4. I almost like roll my eyes, but this one is actually true. Like I remember the first poem or song that I ever wrote, my mum had sent me to my room. I must have been about 5 or 6. And I basically came downstairs with like, I'd say like a 2 paragraph, like almost battle rap at my mum because she sent me to my room, and it was it was just quite fun. I still remember it now, a lot of it, and yeah. So I always had this love basically for rhyming and playing with words, and then when I was 10 years old, my mum got a letter home from the school, and she was like, "Why have you entered yourself into like the school singing competition?" And I'm like, "I don't know," like, and I just, I don't know. I didn't even sing. I just like did it. So I did this thing, and it was really fun. And then throughout secondary school, I kind of been in like school shows or plays or like a couple of like little musical bits here and there. It was nothing too serious. And then I got a guitar for like my 15th birthday because I asked for one. Because up until then, like I listened to what my mum listened to, which to be fair is not bad. Like Dolly Parton, David Gray, like Genesis was awesome. And then when I was 8 years old, I started listening. I picked my first ever album for myself, which was Eminem Curtain Call. Not a great album for an 8-year-old, but it's just a great album
It
overall.
is.
and then, and then, yeah. And when I heard Ed Sheeran basically, and I was like, that's cool. Like that's just rhyming and guitar. That's really basic. I can do that. So then, yeah, I got that guitar, and then I went and played my first like little open mic when I was about 15, 16-ish. And then I remember wasn't long after that. I was sat in sixth form, and I'd just come back from playing like a little show or something, and I sat in my philosophy lesson, and I was like, "This is lame." Like, I know exactly where I want to be right now. I want to be back there again. So on my lunch break, I went and applied for another college to do music, and it just kind of like it's just become like a running joke to myself now that I'm still doing it because like I never intended to. I'm so happy I am, like over the moon that I am. Um, but those people that go up that, oh yeah, like my dad was like really into music, or my mum would always be around the piano, or this, that. I don't have any glamorous story. Like it was just an accident. It's just I found something that I really liked and I just did it. Like,
Yeah.
So that's how I got into music, albeit an accident, and wasn't aware of what I was doing at the time. That's kind of
Yeah.
that segment of it anyway. Yeah, that's my origin into music.
Yeah, which is fantastic because ultimately that's all everyone wants to do is find the thing they love and then be able to go and do it. And obviously, it's not banking as you thought when you were 16. I mean, most 16-year-olds are doing something that sounds like banking, but isn't
Yeah, well,
isn't something we should
a
go into on the
lot of
podcast.
depositing, but
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm glad you obviously found your way to where you are. And Ed Sheeran, is an easy target for a lot of stick, but I think
yes, he is.
he will never get enough credit for, as you say, just him and his guitar opening the
Mm.
door to so many like musicians out there,
He
artists out
really
there to say
did.
you can do this.
He really did do that. And for me, growing up, Paul, I didn't really have any like role models or stuff or anything really. And when I was getting into music, I watched like grow like for a few years. I was quite embarrassed, ashamed of this, but I've really come to really acknowledge it. It's part of my artistic identity. Is that I watched all of his interviews on YouTube for years. I really looked up to him. He's got an incredible work ethic, and that though as when I was starting in music and watching those interviews, they've really stuck with me because like I know that I'm not going to be the most talented person in the room. I'm okay with that. I'm accepting that. Like all I know is just basic chords. I'm fine with that. Like I know my place there. Um and I might not always write like I don't know what but what I'm trying to say is I always tumble over my words sometimes, sorry. But basically what I'm trying to say is like, oh, give me a sec. I have to my sometimes my words stop. But yeah, so yeah, I acknowledge the fact that like I'm not always gonna have like the most amazing chord progressions
Mm.
and so on and so forth. But I will always try and be the hardest working person in that room. And that's something that I've always really lived by since doing music is like I want to work literally as hard as I can. I will do anything and anything because why not? This is where life is lived. Like there are so many people out there who are like, oh, I don't do podcasts or interviews or I don't do that many gigs. And it's fair play to them. But for me personally, life is lived in going and playing shows, meeting humans, sat down in my front room on a Zoom, chatting to another human about their life and my life and sharing these experiences. That to me is the moments where life is lived. So, and if I didn't have that ethic, I wouldn't have done all these things and met all these fantastic people. So yeah, going back to that I really took that from Ed Sheeran, that working hard side of things is, you know, I'm not going to be the most talented person in the room. I'm okay with that, but I will do my goddamn best to be the hardest working because talent is one thing, but you could be 100% amazing, but only 20% work ethic. Where
Yeah,
you know, even if you're like 75% amazing, if you've got 100% work ethic, you you're guaranteed to do better than that other person. Like
absolutely.
every time. And yeah, but I just love it. I just love doing everything all the time. Like when it comes to music, chatting to people and stuff. So yeah, so I really took that from Ed Sheeran. But his one of his influences was actually Nit Sloppy. um,
Mm.
the acoustic duo, and I ended up having the chance to actually support them. Well, Luke Concannon, the half of Nisloppy, on his tour, and that was really special. And I get since the past 3 years, like my musical identity has really changed. It's really kind of I've started to like find my voice a little bit. Like a lot of time when you're trying to find your feet in a creative industry, a lot of time when you're creating you'll sometimes have someone else's voice in the back of your head when you're first starting out. Like all I did was write Ed Sheeran songs for a while and so on and so forth. And but I get compared to Nis Sloppy quite a lot, and it's just really sweet. And that's quite a nice thing because I didn't start listening to them until I was like a little bit older, maybe like 19, 18, 19, 20-ish. But yeah, there's someone who I absolutely love.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see the link, and I love the attitude of working hard. It is so important, no matter what field you're in, be it music or whatever sort of job you've taken on. I mean, the one I was thinking about, as you were saying, it is football. Like the
Mm,
amount of talented youngsters that will break through, and you'll think, oh, this is the next big thing, but then they peter out because yeah, they got the
yeah.
talent, but they don't work hard. And obviously, someone like Cristiano Ronaldo is famous for working hard. He's the first in train and is the last one to go home, and that's why he's so good. And obviously,
Yeah.
music is so important, like you say, to get out there and hone your craft, to play these gigs. It might mean playing gigs to only
Yeah.
like one man and his dog, like at the start,
Honestly,
but that's where Ed
honestly,
Sheeran started. So
but it's just part of it. It's just
yeah,
part of it. You've got to play to no one a couple of times, because it's a real if you let it be, it's a real lesson within yourself, and you playing. I've played a lot, and one thing I've learned is to always leave your ego at the door and really think about it. Okay, you've shown up. You're gonna play this gig. There's two people there. But there's two people there that didn't know you before, and those two people you don't know who they know, and someone you don't know the impact you're going to have on their day, or the fact that they've chosen to stay there and watch you is still something. So even now, if I go and play a festival, or whatever, and I'm playing to a tent of 5 people, right? If that ever happens, like after that gig, I still go around. I've put my guitar down. I don't pack away. If I'm playing with the band, like I let them pack away, or whatever, and I'll put it away, like just to the side, and I'll walk off the stage and immediately go to them and be like, I just want to say thank you so much. Like that really meant a lot for you being there, because at the end of the day, like people really develop an ego in music,
mm,
and they're like, oh, well, there weren't this many people there, so blah 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 blah. And it's understandable to do that. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes my inner monologue, the little voice in my head wants to do that. It does, and that's okay.
absolutely.
It's because I care. I want to do well. But then you have to look at it as a emotionally stable adult through a critical kind of lens, and really look at it and go like, it's okay. It's part of the journey. You've just played to 5 new people. Don't let it get you down. That's an awesome gig. And I always think, what would 16-year-old me say? 16-year-old me starting out would be like, what? 5 people were there listening to you? That's insane. So I always, I'm always in constant competition with myself, but I always look at, when it comes to my music, I always try and think about my younger self and how proud he would be of where we are. And that really slows me down and brings me down a peg. And I go, you know what? It's okay. And then I start to enjoy it, as I should. What else would I be doing on a Friday night? Sitting at home in my underpants playing games, which, by the way, isn't a bad thing and which I do love. However, going out there and playing to 5 people and having a couple of pints with some strangers in the smokers, that's a way to spend an evening to me. So I just love it. I love being out there, meeting people, and just play everything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a fantastic message for musicians starting out, to play everything. Definitely, and yeah, no,
Everything.
absolutely love the attitude. It is fantastic, and obviously has helped you get near to a landmark show that we're going to talk about in a moment. But
Yeah.
before we get onto that, obviously. There's a plethora of music out there that listeners can go and check out. Obviously, the
Mm.
single we've featured recently from yourself is "Fell in Love Again."
Yeah,
They
thank you again for that, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, I absolutely love the single, and listeners can check it out on the Discover New Music playlist. And obviously, we always like to ask about the single we featured
Yeah.
on the playlist. So, what can you tell us about that song? Yeah, how did it come together for you? What is the story, as it were, behind the song?
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. So, fell in love again. So, it started. I done. I I like being around people, but like sometimes I like being like alone around people, not in some weird kind of hipster mysterious way. It's just sometimes I don't want to be at home, but I don't really want to engage in conversation. So I went to my local like jam night around the corner. I just bought a book with me. I think it was Daniel Sloss's autobiography actually, because it's one of the funniest things I've ever read. And I remember sitting there and I was just like reading this and like bands are playing. I love live music. I know most people there. I feel safe. I'm comfortable. And then like this girl walks in, and I was like, "Oh wow, that is a very lovely looking person." And they sat down behind me, um, and they clearly had just washed their hair, and I could smell the shampoo, whatever. And I was like, "Oh, that's nice smelling hair." Like I don't know how I can say that without sounding like an absolute weirdo, but it was just there, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And then she was having a laugh and right old chat with her friends behind me. Um, and I can't remember how. I think she was showing her friends like I think she bought like an Irish number plate for a friend. I was like, "Was that Irish number plate?" And I just moved back from Ireland, and we started chatting. And it turns out she was from Mexico. And I was like, that's cool. I've never met anyone from Mexico before. I'm in Essex. Like, what are you doing here? You're lost. Like, that's mind blowing to me. And she had a really, quite attractive accent, and like she could like switch between speaking English and Spanish, and I was like, that's so cool. And then we were probably having a right old chat. She was telling me about like stoicism and stuff, and I had no idea what that is. And yeah, and she was just we had a proper right old good chat. And then we went up to the bar. And like, she was like, "Oh, what do you want?" I was like, "Oh, well, I was just gonna get like a Guinness, whatever." And then she bought a Guinness, and I was like, "This is my favorite drink. Like, what are you trying to do? You trying to get married right here and now, woman? What are you trying to do?" And we went and sat back down, and it started getting a bit later and later. And I had work the next day. I was like, "Look, I've got to go home." Um, so I drove myself home, and that she ended up following me on Instagram, or whatever. And then I got home and I sat in my driveway for about 20, 30 minutes and I just started writing what I labeled at the time as just a really silly song. And I think because I did that, I wasn't going in with the mindset of trying to write a good song. I was going in the mindset of like I wasn't afraid of failure because I wasn't trying. So I was playing. It was an act of play, the same way as when you whip out a box of Lego and you make a house as a kid. When I was writing this song, I was just having the time of my life. I was like, this is such a stupid song. Like I was actively enjoying myself. I didn't care if it sounded good or what it would sound like to anyone else. I was like, this is so dumb. I'm loving this. And I finished the song in about 20, 30 minutes. I was like, sound, that's a really silly song. I'll never play that. And then I think it was like 2 or 3 nights later, I'd gone to local open mic and I was like, you know what? I'll play it for a laugh. This is, again, so for my own benefit. It's not going to be a song I'm ever going to play. It's just because I just want to just do it. And I did it. And like, I got a really, really positive reaction. And it felt really nice for me to play. And I was like, I think this silly song is going to have to be played a little bit more. Um, so I played it more and more, and it became one of my most requested songs to the point where people were like, "When are you releasing that song? When are you releasing it?" Um, and the whole song is just about my mum probably sick to death of hearing me talk to her about my new love interest, that probably lasts as long as a virgin in the Playboy Mansion. Um, and yeah, so I had this song and I've played it so many times. And yeah, it's just become one of my most popular songs. And it's a song that I never intended for it to see the light of day. And I think that's what plays into its charm and its playfulness is because I didn't go in the intention to writing a good song. I didn't write a song so that people would hear it. I just wrote a song for myself. I was just having fun with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how the song was born.
No, it is a fantastic story. It really, really is. And yeah, I just love how it come together for you. Like you say, writing the song just for yourself, really, without any expectation on it. Like you said earlier, I think quite often musicians have other voices sort of saying, "Oh, you need to do this," or this is the way that you write a song these days, etc., etc. To be able
Mm,
to create something that like the way you did there, Fraser. Yeah, I love that. I really, really do.
thank
And
you.
yeah, obviously the outcome is just a fantastic, fun song. Yeah, I think that word "fun" keeps having to come back into the conversation because
Yeah,
that's exactly what that song is. And
it's self-aware, and this is the
yeah,
thing. Like the whole song is self-aware. I know how stupid it is. Like in the context of the song, I'm talking to my mum about this really attractive like Mexican girl I met who could speak Spanish, ordered a pint of Guinness, had a nice cute nose, had used great shampoo, and is about to go traveling to Europe. Like it's such a dumb premise for a song, but I think that's why it works in the way that it does. It's kind of it's just honestly like I was laughing when I was writing this song because I'm like this is just so dumb. And I think what makes it even funnier is like the girl would follow me on Instagram, and I think like a few days or whatever, like I was like, you know what, I'm a messenger. I've written this song about her. It's one of my favorite songs, I think. People really, really like it. I'll message her. So I messaged her. I was like, hey, it's great to meet you the other night. Just let you know, like that book you told me about, like I'm gonna like go and read it, so on and so forth. She never read it. Never read the message, never saw it. She still follows me on Instagram now. She has no idea the song exists. So
That is,
And the thing is, Paul, I'll be honest, like I've toyed with the idea of like messaging her, be like,
mm,
don't want to sound like a weirdo. I wrote this song about you
yeah,
and people love it. We met once for about an hour. Enjoy. But as a straight white guy, we don't have a great track record.
we don't do it.
We don't really.
No.
So I think I'm going to play it safe and just not say anything. Because
Yeah.
how can you say that to a random girl without scaring them and them getting a restraining order? Like, yeah, I sat with you for an hour. You told me about a book. You followed me on Instagram. I went home, wrote a song about you. It's become my most popular song. Um, don't tell the police. I'm not a weirdo. Like, there's just no way around it. So I think I'll let it be for now. And if it gets to a point where like I get big enough where like it's cool to then tell her, then maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
But for now, to me, I'm just a nobody. So it's just a bit weird.
Well, if she's still following you, maybe she'll suddenly like discover it and click and realize, hang on, I ordered a Guinness.
Could you imagine? She's like, this girl sounds like me.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. No, I love it. I really do. I love when there's a bit of a story behind a song. It just makes it so
All my
much more
songs
interesting.
always have stories, and the thing is, Paul, as well, is I when it comes to songwriting, I hate lying.
Hmm.
I just when I write a song, I'm like, oh, I could put this bit in here, but I'm like, that didn't happen, or that's not true. And I'm not. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Cool. I'm not shitting anyone who does like make up stories or lyrics. That's okay. That's your creative way of doing it. That's okay to do that. That's why fiction exists. Doesn't take away from the value of the art. I'm just very bad at it. So yeah, everything in the song is 100% true, and all my songs have like a genuine story that actually happened, where all 100% of the lyrics are true. And that's just how I write. I think it's because when I'm writing, if out of 100% of the thoughts I'm always thinking in songs and lyrics. I'm always rhyming in my head or trying to look out for like art in a way, like little things that inspire me. And usually starts with a song title. It'll start with a phrase, whatever. And if that phrase, about 10% of those phrases or 5% of those phrases that come into my head might stick, might give me a feeling in my chest. And I go, hold on a minute, I quite like this. Let's expand on it. And then of that 5%, about 10% of that turns into a song. And then of that 10%, about 5% of those songs turn into a song that I keep and use. I've written about 300, 400 songs, and I only play about 15, 20 of them. But yeah, all my songs have some stupid story.
No, it is fantastic. And speaking of stupid but not stupid, because it's actually genius and I love it. The music video for the song. I love music videos. I always talk about the videos on here, and I always am
Thank
gutted
you.
if there's not a video to watch, which so often there isn't these days. And obviously,
No.
one thing I've noticed is you've made quite a few, which is fantastic.
Yes,
So kudos to you
I
for that.
really when I first started doing music, I wasn't really bothered by it.
Hmm,
And then when I kind of kickstarted again, I was like, actually, every single is going to have a music video because they're just
fantastic.
so fun to do.
Oh, they are, and I encourage listeners. There'll be a link in the bio of this episode. Listeners can go and click through and obviously watch the video if they fell in love with
Yeah.
it. And obviously, how did the concept for that come up? Because it's such a fantastic video.
Yeah, so the video, for those who haven't listened to it or what seen it yet but are listening, the concept is speed dating, essentially. And so the theme of the song, when I first wrote the song, it was really around the fact that like I'd met this really awesome Mexican girl. And then I was like, actually, I kind of want to move away from that a little bit. And actually, I want the focus to be on the fact that I myself, I just have like this string of love interests that just never occur. So it's a self-depreciation sort of thing that I quite enjoy. And so that's a concept that I wanted for the music video. I didn't want the music video to be about this fantastic girl. I didn't want it to be a love song kind of music video. I want it to be dumb as fuck. And I want it to be as playful and as silly as the song itself, but I didn't want it to be like, oh, he's met a lovely girl and I didn't want that. The song first starts, it's my mum's gonna hate me because I fell in love again, right? And so I wanted to really run with that. And I was like, what can we do? So I came up with the idea of speed dating. And all the people that I go on speed dates with are in my band. So that's what made it really fun. Is we put three of my male members in wigs basically. to be like the female dates. But the humor isn't the fact that it's men in wigs as such. The humor is that they're my bandmates, and I kind of make that clear in the video.
Yeah.
Um, but they play really bad dates, and so one of them is just can't stop talking about their cat.
Yeah.
The other one, the other one keeps trying to ride me, like in the middle of speed dating, and then the other one is just like absolutely disgusting, doesn't care, and is drinking a bottle of ketchup, sort of thing. Um, and then as you see me, I'm like, there's all hope is lost. Like I'm down on my luck. And then this person walked in, and it's the female singer who was at the time in my band, called Sophie. And it turns out they're really there's chemistry. We're playing, we're smiling, we're laughing, we're getting on really, really well. Um, and then when the song kind of goes to its kind of third big chorus, we're all playing together because we're all in the band. And then as the song ends, I kind of say to her, I kind of text my mum and I say, I think I found the one. And at the end of the text is my mum replies, "Here we go again." And I wink at the camera because "Here We Go Again" is a callback to my previous single that I released called "Here We Go Again." And then at the end, it's just loads of bloopers, us messing about. And honestly, it's probably the most fun I've had doing a music video. So much fun. And we did it all in like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, you look like you're having fun, and it worked so well. And
Honestly.
fit, obviously, sort of the concept you said about having it framed around more of you and your love life and everything. Like, yeah, it plays out so well, and just a really enjoyable watch. So listeners
Thank
definitely
you.
need to go and check it out. And again, it's just evidence that you can make a really fun, really good music video
Mhm.
at low cost, realistically, because
Yeah,
I can't imagine that costs
it really
much.
wasn't too much. So
Yeah.
my friend Kieran, he's a fantastic editor. I'd met him through he was doing some stuff for a festival, and he said that he did for the music videos. He sent me some long time stuff, and I was like, that's not too bad. Um, and the song itself, it was free to record because the first three singles, well, no, the first three singles after my first one, I recorded them in my friend's warehouse. He has a warehouse for his uh, vintage business, and we were using clove racks to basically be the soundproofing because we didn't have any money to rent a place out. So the song itself, it cost me absolutely nothing to record, and it's 50 quid to master. And then the music video was about 200 quid. So for a song and a music video with everything, cost me 250 quid, which isn't too bad.
That's not bad at all.
It's really, really, really cheap. Like
Yeah.
it's really, really cheap. And I'm quite lucky because all the ways that I record, like I personally I'm not attracted to going to big fancy studios and spending. I can understand there is to a degree like a sense of professionality to it, and maybe you do kind of achieve a bit more of a sound. But currently, my sound I want it to be a little bit different, a little I want it to be clear that it's DIY, but not to the point where like it is literally like recorded like in a wardrobe, which isn't bad. If it works for you and that's what you got at the time, then do it. But if I've got this warehouse and I've got these people to help me out, like my drummer Joel, he mixed it and he was amazing, and people playing it were great as well. So yeah, and all my music I release is just so cost effective. Like you don't need to have loads of money to do songs and stuff. I feel like a quite a big part of that now is smoke and mirrors. I think part of that is still clinging on to the whole you know, uh, with the record label, sort of this almost unachievability and this like glory to it. Whereas now it doesn't need to be a glory, big amazing thing. Like Mike Skinner did his first album literally in a wardrobe. That's why I said it.
Yeah.
He put his vocal mic in a wardrobe and did the beats himself. Like that's literally how he recorded it. Like, and that was one of the best albums released of all time. Like you've really and music consumers generally don't really care about quality as long as the song itself is good. Like, there's a song that I love called The Mess Inside by the Mountain Goats. The audio fidelity on that is shit. Like, it is so bad, but the essence of the song is there. And that's what makes it one of my favorite songs. Ezra Furman records, I think one of his songs in one of their songs, sorry, in a similar way. Um, and it's just, yeah, you don't need a big, massive budget.
No.
you know. I'm quite lucky now that my friend has a studio, and like they let me go around there. They let me use it quite cheap. But you know, a lot of the stuff that we recorded it using like a laptop, like an interface, and just plugging stuff in and record it. No, I understand that not everyone can start with that, but you know, just start with what you've got and build from there. And then whatever else you need will come in time. Like before, I couldn't record a full band, so I didn't. So I just
Yeah.
recorded solo songs. And then once I recorded more and did more music and gigs more, I started to meet musicians and meet bands and meet friends who then had, I don't know, microphones for drum kits, had a drum kit themselves. And turns out my friend has a studio, a warehouse, you know. Just start. My advice is, I know no one asked my advice. My advice is just start with what you've got and just go from there.
Yeah, that's great advice, and the whole DIY ethos that you're talking about all fits in as you started off with. Just work hard. Make connections,
That's
build a
it.
community around yourself, and yeah, obviously, hopefully, reap the rewards in the future. And obviously, with Fell in Love Again, it's a fantastic sort of springboard, hopefully, for more great stuff to come from you. And
Thank
obviously,
you.
before we move on to your special show coming up, can obviously listeners, I'll give out the social handles in a little bit because it's a bit of a
Yeah,
tradition on the podcast.
cool.
But obviously, they'll go and they'll follow you. There'll be new music on the rise, and I would hope from yourself, Fraser.
Yes, there is actually. I was actually doing some literally before we started this podcast. I'm working on a new song that's going to be out on Valentine's Day. And that's, am I meant to tell you? I don't care. I've got a manager. I do what I want. It's gonna be the live version of Fell in Love Again. So I'm releasing it on February the 14th because it's
Yes.
Valentine's Day. Fell in love again. I was like, I did that. I worked it out by mistake the other day because I just put in a random date to be for my pre-save, and I was like, you know what? I'll just stick it in there. I didn't realize till the next day, and I was like, I'll put it in for Valentine's Day, and I was like, actually, let's go on Valentine's Day. So, so I'm going to release that, and it's that song, that video. So I've recorded that. I've had that recorded for a little bit now. So it's professionally done in my friend has a studio, and there's a scheme where if you're 25 and under, you can record like a music video, live video for free. So I did that, and that song and that video has probably like been my most requested to release. From I've only kept it as unlisted and sent it out to people, but it's gotten me the most gigs. That song and that video. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping. I think that's going to do better than the studio version. I'm hoping because I love live versions of songs and
Mm.
like it's usually those live versions of songs that kind of help artists. Like there's an artist that I like called Hober Johnson, and they did a live version of their song Peach Scone in like a back garden, and that's what really like helped propel them. And I think it's good to have both studio and live versions of stuff. And I always try and imitate studio how I sound live in a studio, but then
Yes.
I think having the live song. I'm just so excited to look forward to it. And I've got another single coming out after that, about 6, 7 weeks later. And then I've got an EP and then it's the show. So yeah, it's good to have
Perfect.
direction. And I do it all
It is.
myself. So it really helps me stay sane.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Definitely does. Great to have direction, and yeah, direction for you at the moment is all pointing towards what we've alluded to a couple of times. Show 1000, which you've got lined up at
I'm
Colchester
1,000th
Arts
gig. Yeah.
Centre, which is an incredible music venue. I've been there a fair few times now. Best toilets
Nice.
in the world in that venue.
Such good toilets. Best toilets in Colchester are going to be found in the Arts Centre.
Yeah, exactly. People that have never been won't understand why I bring that up. And I think this is the second
No,
podcast that's been mentioned on now. And it's just true. They are fantastic space age toilets.
they're
But the venue
really, yeah.
itself is obviously the consecrated church, that stunning venue,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and a big venue. So, I mean, obviously,
Huge.
and show 1000 as well, is something definitely to celebrate. So you must be obviously just
Yes.
so excited for that show.
I'm shitting myself. I on the day that I announced it, I like had existential crisis and like had a bit of a panic, and I called up my partner because I had realised I was like, holy fuck, like I've actually got to hit 1,000 shows at that time
Yes.
and date. Because you know what, as well, Paul, is like I'm a little bit like dyslexic in a way, and I sometimes get numbers and like words mixed up in my brain. So when I was booking in my 1,000th show, I didn't realize this until the day that I announced it, that June is in fact the sixth month, not the eighth. So I thought I was booking, I was like, I've still got another 7 months. I'm absolutely fine. No worries. Oh, no, buddy. Oh. No. I realized about 5 minutes after posting that by bearing in mind, by the way, I've been planning this for about 5, 6 months. I've been booking this since like August last year.
Yeah.
I didn't realize till about 5 minutes after I posted it, and I was like, shit. I was like, I've got to do how many gigs? Which my partner did remind me is actually is nothing for me. I've got to do like 75 gigs in like 6 months, which is really easy for me. I do about 3 or 4 gigs a week anyway.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Don't panic. You've got this. So I've got it, and I'm gonna do it. And that's gonna some people have said to me, like, why don't you lie and say it's your thousandth if it's not? I'm like, no. Mm-mm-mm. Because I'm not doing it for them.
Mm.
I'm doing it for me. And if I get up on that stage knowing that it's not my 1000th, I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So I just, what's the point otherwise? So it is going to be 1000. I'll be honest, I'm shit scared. In my head, I'm telling myself that no one's going to turn up. Because because I care, not because I want people to come and see me as such, even though it is lovely, but I want people to see the support acts. I want people to see Urban Man. I want people to see Jack Walsh. And also, we're raising money for two charities: Musicians Supporting the Homeless and an LGBTQ plus charity based in Colchester called the Outhouse. And I want to raise money for those charities. And I'm just worried about failing. And it's like a 400 cap venue. And in my head, I'm like, I want it to be 400 people there. I want 400 people to be there. But if I look at it, even if 200 are there, I'm like, fuck me,
Yeah.
200 people. That's well all right. Like, how much money we're going to raise for charity, and so on and so forth. So I really hope. I'm worried that people won't come, but that's fair. That's just because they care. I hope they do, because it's not even for me. It's just going to be a really fantastic night of just a celebration of just like not even the 1000th show, but just because it's just I'm quite lucky. I don't have dickhead fans or like anyone who comes to my shows or likes my music. They're well lovely and they're so emotionally intelligent and so kind and compassionate and are really clocked on. Whereas like sometimes the fan base will ruin the artist.
Mm.
Whereas the people who follow me and support me are the best part about me. And I'll say that with my chest. I mean it with my full heart. And I'm so appreciative because finally starting to find my people, because I never really had my people growing up. Um, so yeah, it's just going to be just a. I don't know. I think I'll probably cry. I'll be honest. I think because a couple of doors down, I went to the sixth form, and during that first year of that sixth form, I was trying to get into music, and I was trying to study music, and a teacher told me that music wasn't for me. So for me to be a couple of doors down, playing my 1000th show
Yeah.
to a couple of hundred people, I don't hold on to resentment, and I
No.
let it go, and I forgive and forget. But a little part of 16-year-old Fraser is going to be like,
Yeah.
a
Just want to invite them along, don't you?
little bit. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, it's going to be, and I think then I don't really give myself credit for music, but I think then if I play my that 1000th show, I think then I can be like, okay, fair play. Like you're allowed to accept that. You're allowed to celebrate that. Like 1,000 gigs by the time I'm 26 isn't bad.
No, that's an incredible achievement. It really, really is, and I love the fact that you've obviously kept count of them. I was
Yeah.
reading through. Obviously, fans can check out your website actually, and there's a list of them. And I think you've taken it a bit more seriously over the last like year or two. But
Yes, right.
I'm a massive geek when it comes to things like that. I've obviously got my own spreadsheets for like the gigs I go to as a fan, and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And yeah, I love it. And obviously leading up to that show, that was going to be something I was going to point out. You must obviously need to be sort of careful to an extent, because you want that to be show 1000, not show
Yes.
obviously 980, but also not show 1001, because that
No.
wouldn't be the same either. So there's got to
No.
be a point, I'm guessing, where you've got to go, oh, hang on a minute, I need to like just
Yeah.
double count what I've got and not book too much. So
So my outlook on it is I'm gonna cram like kind of during the colder periods. I'm
mm,
gonna work on a bit more because I'd rather turn down shows in May
yeah.
than like panic scramble for shows at the end of May. It's a far better position to be in. That saying of I'd rather have and not need
Yes.
than need and not have. Um, but for now, it's filling up. It's looking healthy. Um, I've given. I haven't taken into account the rest of the shows I'm doing in January. I'm doing quite a few shows in January, but I think it's going to work out about 3 or 4 shows a week from the end of January to the start of June, which for me isn't unachievable because I think because the amount I gig, see, I've had people be like, you shouldn't gig as much, you shouldn't gig as much, and especially locally, which I kind of get the local side of things, but how are people going to find me if I don't gig? I haven't got a manager. I haven't got a label. I haven't got loads of money to pump into promotion. All I have is gigging. You can't take that from me. I had a booking agent who was giving me some lovely advice. He was a really lovely guy. And he was like, you don't want to gig too much. And that's the one piece of advice I didn't listen to because I was like, this is all I have. So it's my promotion tool at the end of the day. Like I've often gotten gigs like last second, be like, do you want to come play a show in St. Albans in 4 days? I'm like, yeah, go on then. Why not? I've always got a camper van, so I go around in that and I just go everywhere and sleep in that and play gigs. That really helps. So, but yes, a part of me is anxious. I'm not going to reach it, of course, but a, a good, strong part of me is confident that I will. Um, I believe that I will because I do get handed gigs like randomly left, right, and centre. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's go, let's go. And I've booked most of my weekends up already anyway. And when I play festivals, I usually play about 3 or 4 shows in a weekend at a festival alone. So that's not including the gigs that I might play during the week. So I think I'm going to be all right.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, Fraser. I'm confident that you'll get that done. And yeah, definitely encourage listeners, obviously, to go along to that show and any other show in between now and then. And this is the moment of truth where I give out the social handles. And
Yeah.
obviously, they should on the YouTube version pop up in the corner if my editing wizardry works out well. So
Where should I point at it? Is it like, should I point it
I'll
like,
put them
ding?
wherever you point. There you go. That'll work well.
What about like right here?
Yeah, we could do that. Oh dear. And hopefully I've got them right. So Instagram and I keep calling it Twitter, but I should call it X. It's Fraser Morgan UK, nice and easy to
Yes,
find.
nice and easy.
Facebook is Fraser Morgan Music 7, I want to say.
Yeah, I had to change it. So I had like a profile that was, I had my friends in it, and then I had like a Facebook page that had my likes in it. I was like, well, no one uses pages. I don't particularly. Loads of people have been following and adding my private one basically. I'll just turn that because you can do that thing where you turn it into like a professional page. So I was like, you know what, I'll do that. I'll transfer over the username to that one. Oh no, no, you can't. So I've stopped using Fraser Morgan UK on my Facebook page to use it on my new one, but they've told me I can't use it. So now I'm stuck with this stupid app.
Yeah,
So
technology is great in it when it works. And then
pain in the
yeah,
fucking ass.
it is. But it is there. And then obviously you've got the website as well,
Yeah.
which is frasermorgan.co.uk, I want to say, or .com.
FraserMorganMusic.com, I think,
Phrase
the website.
music, yeah,
Yeah.
frasermorganmusic.com. So obviously lots of ways that listeners to this podcast can obviously stay in touch with you and find hopefully those shows that are going to be happening. Check out the live version of Fell in Love Again out on February the 14th. Trying to remember what
14th,
date Valentine's
Valentine's
Day
Day.
is, but yeah. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff for listeners to check out, which is fantastic, and leads us nicely, having talked about the live side of things, onto the final portion of the podcast, which is our regular feature, which is, again, I said I'm a geek. It's called Setlist Science because I love set lists. I love
Nice.
tracking what bands are playing, and what songs I've seen live and all that kind of stuff. So I always love this section. And the question for it is simply, have you got any rules that you tend to follow when you're building a set list, and how much importance do you place personally into the structure of your set lists?
Yes, so I've always been someone like I quite like psychology and people and like understanding people's brains. And after years of gigging, like I've really realized what I love. I would always try and work in dynamic into a set list. I always avoid the next song sounding the same as the last one. I don't want anyone to be able to turn around and be like, that sounded like that one, or that sounded like that one. Because a lot of my songs probably do, because I use the same 3 chords, 4 chords. Um, um, but yeah, so I always start on Here We Go Again. If I'm with the band, I'm always start on Here We Go Again, because I always end on Here We Go again. which is really fun to do. I don't know if I meant to tell you that secret, but uh, so and then in between, I generally, yeah, I always try and work through like a flow. I never plan a set list. I will admit that.
No.
I never plan a set list. My band kill me for it, but they've gotten used to it now. But I will generally, the first song is here we go again. We go straight into it, get everyone's attention instantly. I don't want to go in nice and soft and sit in the background. I almost want to demand your attention. And then the second song is just as upbeat. I still want to keep that attention. And it's like the next one is Mistakes Done Fine, so it's a bit rappy. It's very upbeat and stuff, and it's got that energy to it. So I always start more or less with those two. Sometimes it will change differ. Depends if I'm just feeling a bit adventurous. I just want to mess about for my own sake. And then I always generally end on Fed in Love Again or Someone to Come Home To because I always want to end on a boom. But just before the boom, I'll probably bring it down as low as I can and maybe play something like Call Me Mate, which is a song that I wrote about men's mental health. Or I'll play a song that I haven't released yet called Ruminating, which is about mental health and having panic attacks and anxiety and me navigating my way out of those and through those. So the song is actually, I'd written the song after a panic attack. So I really try and almost give people this emotional whiplash where I want them to be still crying during the happiest song of my set, you know, and I'm really not in like in a sinister way, but I just really want to. I've always found for gigging something that I've identified is people remember emotion, right? They don't remember if like you had a good time or if like how well like you played. They always remember how you made them feel, right? So your favorite things in life, your favorite people, you don't remember those people because they were happy or like or anything like that. You remember them because of how happy that they made you feel when they were happy, right? You remember the emotion that someone instigates in you, the same as you only ever remember the best things in life and the worst things in life. You never remember the bits that were just, it was cool, you know? And so that's what I want. I always want to try and instigate and conjure up as much emotion as I can in people listening. But I want all of the emotion. I don't just want to play miserable songs and make everyone cry the whole time. I don't just want to play really, really, really upbeat songs and pretend everything's okay all of the time. Um, and what I like playing live because to me personally, I think like it's just how I work. All art's different, but for me personally, I try and give people what you can't get through a playlist and what you can't get through listening to music. So for me, when I go to a show, watch a show, I don't care how well you play the songs. I care about the bits in between the songs. I want to see your character. I want you to make me laugh. I want you to be a knobhead. I want you to be vulnerable. I want you to say something that I can relate to and understand and see you as a human being. I like to break the fourth wall constantly through my set. Like I'm not like, oh, how's everyone's night? Okay, this and next song's
Yeah.
this, like, so on and so forth. Like, again, not shitting people who do that, but for me personally, for me to enjoy it, I really like to break the fourth wall. I like to like point to people like, oh, what's your name? What do you do? Almost like a stand-up comedy thing, but not quite. Or like if I see someone halfway during my set do something at the end of my set, I'll like talk to them about it and get to know them and like get their name and be like, everyone have a round of applause. I know artists do this. I know it's not brand new. This isn't a brand new thing that I've started and invented, but I want to deliver a show. I want to, yeah, I don't want to get up there and just play my song and leave. I want to go up there and play. And even if I talk too much during between the songs, like I'd rather play, as you can tell by this podcast, I talk a lot, but I always want to get up and deliver a show. I want to give you something that, yeah, a Spotify playlist can't give you. I want to make you laugh. I want to get to know you as a person. I want to do the silly bits. I want to mess up live and all its imperfections and stuff that make art and live music what it is. So
Yeah.
I've spoken so much, I forgot what the question was.
Set list we were talking about, and
There we go.
obviously, no, it's a fantastic. Like you've clearly given it a good deal of thought, and you've clearly,
Yes.
got a style or a method of playing your songs and engaging the audience, and yeah, no, I absolutely love it, and I love, like you say, breaking the fourth wall and actually having some
Always.
genuine sort of engagement with a crowd beyond the normal. Oh, we got the best crowd of the tour. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Every crowd's the
Yeah, yeah,
best
yeah, yeah.
crowd of
Cool,
the
cool,
tour.
cool, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I do. It's that new kind of wave of stand-up comedy where they interact with the audience a
Mm.
lot, and that's a new thing. But my thing is like just that. Yeah, I just love talking to people, and because people are weird, but they're beautifully weird. And if you talk to the right person, you're no longer the entertainment that person is. Like spoken to some right weirdos, and I have walked away entertained because I'm like, I'm so happy I did that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it is fantastic, and hopefully whets the appetite for listeners for Fraser Morgan shows. And again, listeners, obviously, Fraser Morgan UK on Instagram and Twitter, Fraser Morgan Music 7 on Facebook. Follow Fraser, find a show, come along to a show, and
Yeah.
hopefully, you're not going to regret doing that. And obviously, I've certainly not regretted having you on the podcast. It's been one of my
Oh, mate,
favourites,
I've loved being
Fraser. But
here.
yeah, thank you
Honestly,
so
thank you
much.
for having me on. Your energy is amazing. And, even if people don't want to come to a show, feel free to message me, just chat. I love chatting to people, and like, especially when it comes to like mental health stuff, I get it. Like, I've got my own podcast where I talk about mental health and stuff, and I haven't put on it in a while actually, but I just love chatting to people. So, yeah, feel free to message me, even yourself. Like, your sound, you were so easy to talk to. I've done loads of these, and you're awesome. And very organized bookshelf, man.
Well, that's the wife. I can't take
Oh, is
credit for
it?
that bookshelf. That's the wife's.
Very
But yeah,
nice. Also,
yeah,
shout out to Blake Kateris. I think he follows your
yes,
Instagram.
yeah.
This is
He's been
Blake.
on the podcast actually. Blake has.
Has he actually? I didn't know he
Fantastic.
was. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Blake got put through to me from another band, and they were like, "Oh, I heard you put shows on." So I helped Blake book his tour. I own Sad Buds Records,
yeah.
so I helped Blake and Ed get their tour over here and signed them off through the government so that they could come over here.
Oh, amazing.
And like they ended up staying in my camper van. Like I put them up for the night. We got smashed together. It was brilliant, and they've Ed and Blake have become really good friends of mine, and I ended up putting them on a show in Colchester, and yeah, and that's where I bought the t-shirt and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, Ed and Blake, yeah, lovely, lovely, fantastic.
so
I
good.
went and met them in Huntington. They played a show in Huntington.
Oh,
I went over
cool.
and met them there and had a great night with them. So yeah, no,
Yeah, man,
absolutely
they're legends.
fantastic. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And yeah, no, Fraser. Just to obviously close off the podcast, we always give the last message to the guest. What would be your last message for the listeners today?
For the listeners today,
Yeah,
um, be compassionate to yourself. Because life's weird and so's our brain and so's our upbringings. And remember that you don't have to be the person that you're told to be growing up. You're an adult now and you can be whoever you want to be. And I think that's a big thing that I discovered is a lot of time I was living my life through my insecurities and my anxieties and maybe not always being the best friend to those growing up because I was living so anxiously trying to self-preserve. But I think it's just let it go to therapy, chat to someone, and just like get it out and really just be lovely to yourself and just be compassionate. On the days where you're anxious, just let yourself be anxious, and you know, and it's okay to compare yourself to others because it's human, but catch yourself doing it and just be nice. I think just treat yourself with compassion. Treat yourself how you would treat your friend. Would you let your friend talk to themselves the way that you talk to yourself? Probably not. Like, yeah, just be more accepting, I think, is the big thing. We're not very accepting of ourselves and we put ourselves on such a high pedestal. And the person in our brain is so cruel. It's an actual bully. Like the person in our brain is like a real life bully who knows all our deepest, darkest secrets and fears and anxieties and knows how to say the worst things to us. But if that person was like sat next to me, I'd stick my middle finger up and tell them to go fuck themselves. So I think that's the big one. Just love. Just be lovely to yourself. Just like and compassionate to those around you. Sometimes people are twats.
yeah,
Actually, a lot of time people are, and there's nothing you can do about it. What you can do about it is how you respond to it and put yourself in their shoes compassionately. Because I always say compassion will set you free, and that actually, what's going on in their day, what's happened in their life. They feel like that's an appropriate way to act because maybe they've been treated in the same unkind way. That's quite sad, and you start to feel compassion, and no longer you feel hatred and you're pissed off this person. You actually feel sorry for them, especially if someone's treated you wrong growing up. Just forgive them. And that's the most selfish thing you can do is just forgive someone because it's not actually for you, for them, sorry. It's actually
mm,
for you. Let go of that resentment. Resentment is like swallowing a pill and hoping another person will die. So hopefully you can, if you're listening and you're pissed off with someone still, hopefully you can let it go. Not for them, but just for your own sake.
yeah. No, fantastic final message.
Sorry
Yeah,
about the TED talk.
no, absolutely no. I love it. I love that sort of message on this podcast. So no, thank you so much for it, and yeah, thank you so much, Fraser, for coming on and talking to me.
Thank you for having me, Paul. You absolute bloody champion. I've really enjoyed it. Honestly, it's been one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. So
Ah,
thank you
thank
so
you
much
so
for being a
much.
legend.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed the chat there with Fraser. Please do make sure you check out his single Fell in Love Again over on our Discover New Music playlist on Spotify. And of course, follow Fraser across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from him. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Discover New Music podcast.